You are now tuned in to the RRT Boxing Show. I'm your host, Mr.A. Ready, talk boxing. On today's show, we will close out. Well, I will do my final recap of the closeout of the 2017 title fights in Japan between Sho Kimura defeating Higashira. I believe that's his name. What was his name? Sho Kimura that was a good performance, man. I mean, he defeated Igarashi. Now, he showed that his defeat of Shimizu wasn't a flash in the pan. It's a very similar style. And we're also going to be talking about the unification title bout between Tacguchi and defeating Milan Milindo. So, after we recap the last title shots of 2017, we will be doing some talking of the super middleweights. You know, with the fights that are tied up, there's two names I think that can really benefit from this, and that's Rocky Fielding or Caleb Plant. So we're going to see which one of those two, or perhaps both of them, could take advantage of opportunities that's going to lie ahead in their careers, and we will get into that right here on RRT Boxing. Now, recapping 2017 title fight. We will go with the unification first. Ryuichi Tacguchi defeating the IBF champion Milan Milindo was my last prediction I got wrong in the year 2017. I predicted for Milan to survive the whole 12 rounds and get the inside game going and counter him and knock him out, because I figured that's the only way he can win. And much to my credit, I guess I wasn't quite, even though I said the wrong thing, I wasn't quite wrong. Milan did land a pretty good inside game. It just, with a fighter of Tacguchi who has a reach advantage, Milan was not first enough with his offense. Being a good counter puncher that he is, it seemed like he was waiting for the right counter punch, because he knew Tacguchi was going to, come in with his long reaching jab, but he never really got the timing and the gap. He never read the gap right for Tacguchi's reach, because Tacguchi, the whole fight, was able to simply just jab him. And I mean, and the fact that he never really put a lot of force behind the jab, there wasn't a lot of body forward force over carrying his punches, so he was just able to tag and bounce in and out. And the fact that he, like I said, that the body force wasn't directly behind the punches, so he would just score points, tag, pepper him. Those boxing terms. He was just peppering him, and he backed out. And Milan never really was able to. Like I said, when he was first, he was able to land a good. Like I said, to me, I thought Milan did a good inside body game the whole fight, but towards the eighth, to me, around the seventh, eighth round is when Tacguchi really started taking over the fight. But up until that point, Milan wasn't first enough, and the fact that him waiting just allowed and the gap, and Tacguchi was doing a good job at controlling it, keeping him off rhythm, just with 1-2s. But that that pace that Tacguchi fights at, it tires him out. And the fact that Milan was landing big body shots, the opportunity was there. At the end of the fight, you see who took, like, even though Milan's face was all banged up and cut up, it was a lot of head clashes during this event. And after the fight, you just see Tacguchi just like rest his hands on the ropes, and it wasn't like I just got a unification celebration, you know. He was like, and while Milan just busy getting checked out, Taguchi's like, so like I thought that was gonna catch up to him, and Milan would be able to counter that tired fighter. But Tacguchi did a really good job at like I said, just keeping that bridge in and out, and just like I said, a good job of just like a solid arm jab. Because like I said, he targeted the cuts that was created by headbutts. He just kept targeting them, and it was good. And Milan, he never. It's so crazy, you know. Like that's why it was pretty entertaining to see Kenshiro do a lot of the body feints and all that stuff, because Milan didn't use no feints really, you know. For a guy who's getting out jabbed and a guy who's just easily timing you and jabbing you, you would think like maybe kind of like make him, you know, counter. If you're a counter puncher, make him throw so you could counter him. But Milan was, like I said, Milan was not first, and like I said, the whole I had Milan winning like I think 3 rounds. The first round I gave Milan. I think I gave him around 1, 5, and 7. You know, and there was, like I said, up into the first 8 rounds, I thought it could have been a good fight. Milan was doing, he just wasn't first enough. Because the work to me, he was landing the good inside game. He had landed a good shot in here. They were the meteor shots of the fight. It's just that when he wasn't first enough, all those peppering shots, it seemed a very controlling, because you saw a lot of it. But the way I judge rounds, I go minute per minute, and you'll see not much is happening, but what is happening is you remember just that peppering shit or stuff, you know. So it was a lot of rounds, like 1 minute, Milano win 1, Tacguchi will win 1, and in that 3rd minute, it was really no type of action, or Milan just wouldn't throw, and he lose. And like I said, he wouldn't throw, and Tacguchi just simple jabs. Like it was a good performance, But if there is a unification match with him and Kenshiro, wow. Now, I know he would have a tremendous height advantage and a reach advantage, I do believe. But like I was saying, Kenshiro, he does a lot of feints. He moves the ring. And even though Tacguchi is good at that peppering, it tires him out because he don't got much power, to me, is my opinion, to keep you off him. But he hits you a lot. And he has power, but not enough to, like, just, from what I say, I don't see like round change in power. And it seemed like his style just hires him out for the end, like the back half of the fights. Now, if Kenshiro could get to the second half of the fight, I would think with his movement, his inside game, his hooks, those left hooks. But they both have good left hooks. As Tacguchi was tagging Milan with that. So like I said, that'll be a very interesting unification. That'd be a very interesting unification. And the thing is, though, this has a very good chance of happening, because I don't know why it is. Something that needs to be fixed. If we somehow, the fans, really make the noise. Unification matches happen, and I notice Japan really has no problem making unification with the smaller classes. Their fighters, they fight each other, no problem. UK's getting pretty hot. Recently. Fighter. Now, hopefully here in the States, we start jumping on, best fighting the best, or like at least best fighting the top 4, consistently. That'd be a very happy boxing talk. Now, the other title fight. Oh yeah. The other title shot we are talking about is, we are going to discuss, which one was it? Sho Kimura. This is very funny. I guess I can't, if I had a better vocabulary, I could probably think of a better word. But it's very inciting to see this guy beat Igarashi. I messed that up right now, but Toshiyuki. Because just a few weeks ago or days ago, a forward aggressor could not catch a boxer in Billy Joe, David Lemieux, Billy Joe Saunders. And here you saw the same game, the same fight system, the game plans, Sure, Igarashi. I'm trying to get that name right. Igarashi. All right, we go with that. Toshiyuki Igarashi. Yes, his movement was good. Maybe just a game plan, but his feet weren't as fast as Billy Joe's. But the movement was there for the similarity of the game plan. And then you have Sho Kimura is David Lemieux, a forward fighter. But the thing is, you was able to see that Sho Kimura, although he was getting outboxed pretty easily the first 2 rounds, like David Lemieux, he put forth the effort to create a moment. While David Lemieux was looking for a moment, looking for that shot on Billy Joe, Toshiyuki, he kept circling to the right to get away from Sho's left. He just kept circling away. So that whole time, Sho, he wouldn't give up on the punch. He'd just reach out there and try and guess the throw. Very similar to what Canelo's decent at that. He'd throw the left hook. I'm a big Lara fan, so that changed the fight for him. So makes me appreciate left hooks even more. But Sho didn't give up on it. Like he had created an opportunity for himself with David Lemieux. He kept waiting for Billy Joe to be in the perfect position. And like I said, the first 2 rounds, Toshiyuki pretty much was just circling to his right consistently, firing a right jab. Then he'll throw a little something, left hook in there. But circling just basically, he circles his right, stop, throw a right, just basically peppering him 1-2 in him, throwing the hooks. But even though he was throwing the right jab out there, as trainer, what's his name, Barry Hunter, he wasn't on the phone. He'll bring it back low, and that's why I said when he was bringing it back low, Sho just threw the left hook out there, and it started catching him in the 3rd round, 4th round. The force was being felt a little bit. You could feel it changing, And after that, it just went the flow just changed. Toshiyuki wasn't as evasive, you know, the earlier reaching shot. Because the first, like I said, even though the tide was changing, it took 4 rounds, and those 4 rounds and beyond, Sho Kumura, he was missing, like he was creating a gust of wind. Now, could he have got countered? Perhaps in his next fight or so. But at the same time, he was creating himself that moment to win. And without that moment, you end up like David Lemieux. Like I said, even though he was missing and missing bad, you know, looking real bad, like I really don't know who. I think the crowd was going for Sho, you know, but I know Toshiyuki had his fans in there as well. But like I said, even though that crowd seemed louder for a Sho, when he was missing, they're like, "Whoa, like what are you doing?" Like, "Whoa, you looking silly," you know. But he was missing wow, but he never gave up. Is what I'm trying to say. Like he kept to his game plan, even though it wasn't successful for a large part of the fight. But those shots kept landing, and then it got to one point where he was Toshiyuki wasn't moving as much. So like even though he couldn't land the right hook, that's what he was circling away from, he was able to start landing a straight right. And then eventually, as the rounds came, because he knocked him out in the 9th. Sho Kumura knocked Toshiyuki and out in the 9th. Like I said, he didn't land too many right hooks because he was circling away, but the straight right set him up, stumbled in the 9th, then boom, boom, hit him with a 1-2 again, stumbled him back in the ropes, and just kept firing 1-2s off. Like I said, I believe there was a cut in some earlier rounds, because you know, it happens, especially with Sho Kumura. He lunges in, especially and well, Toshiyuki, he wasn't bending down, but when he got knocked out, because the 8th round, it was one of those rounds they say it was the beginning of the end. That's when the gas tank really got into a knockout zone. You know, you could see when the fighter's like, oh, he's different, and like his body's not reacting to the shots, the same shots, the reaching hooks that were landing, the reaching straight right hands that still landing, but the body's just reacting different. All that was happening in the 8th round. Like I said, the same momentum. He kept trying to circle to the right, but those leaping left hooks were landing. Then the 6th round he stopped. 7th he did, and then the 8th round he just really got pushed back to the ropes. Some shots were landing, and then the 9th round started. He got hit. Like I said, he never really got hit with Sho's right hook. He circled enough to stay away from that, but he was able to get hit with the straight right, and that set him up. And when he stumbled back into the ropes, he got hit with a 1-2, and he got to the point where he just dropped his arms like, I'm done. You know, and the ref was just like, okay, like you saw him just like the pain. His arms are up, and then just it's like as boxing fans, we can easily sit here and say, look at that guy, but you don't realize that's a trained professional, you know, who puts in work, gets paid to do that, gets paid to get hit, but he reached so at a moment where he just, like his body just goes against him, like I can't, you know, like, because no fighter wants to put their hand down and like say hit me in the face. It's just like an instant reaction, like no more, and it's weird to see that it just happened. It's like, whoa. You know, this is boxing. Any person could get hurt. Anybody, any given day. That's why when you see some of these fights, like, whoa, For instance, like, and well, that is how 2017 ended with those two fights. So I don't want to go crazy sideways. That's how 2017 ended. If I was gonna say, you see any of these fights, like Mikey Garcia, Sergey Lipinets, which will going to be on another episode. I will discuss all that, but you never know who's going to win that fight. You never know. So now going into we discussed the light flyweight unification. The only belt out there is the WBO Angel Acosta. We'll find out what he's doing right here on Double RT Boxing. And then we discussed the flyweight 112 WBO defense of champion Sho Kimura defeating Toshiyuki Igarashi. Almost, guys. I love you guys, though. Now, we will move on to, like I discussed earlier, the super middleweights. It has the WBC tournament going on. It has fighters or like I said, for instance, you had James DeGale just doing his thing. You got David Benavidez, who's a WBC champion. He's in his own rematch coming up soon. You got the WBA champion, George Groves, who's in the tournament. You got the regular champion, Tyrone Zeke, who's coming back from an injury. And he's about to get into his mandatory rematch that he got hurt for. Like I said, then you got the WBO champion, Roberto Ramirez. He's getting ready for his fight. So all the top spots in the super middleweights, the 168 pounders, all the big names are tied up. Tournament already got a fight lined up. And if you start looking down the lists, the rankings, you see there's the two names, like you know who they are, but you don't think about where they're at, and that's Caleb Plant and that's Rocky Fielding. Both winning good. Both seem like they got talent. We've seen Rocky Fielding take a loss, come back, look very impressive. He lost to Caleb Smith, who was in the tournament. Now we could go over the rankings and see like where they're gonna go and possibly what could happen for them. What route they take, considering the spots they have. I figure you got the IBF. We'll talk with them, considering they just got a brand new champion. James DeGale dropped the ball on that one. I don't know what sport you want to say, but he did something wrong in that sport. And in boxing, he was not supposed to lose it. But hey, boxing is something you don't play, you come to fight. And James DeGale did not come to fight, not properly that night. Now, the IBF super middleweight champion is now Caleb Chulax. But the interim, see, this is where it's so weird. Caleb Chulax wouldn't even have had that title shot if the Andre Durrell and the Jose, what's that guy's name? Yukataki. If that fight hadn't ended in that, like I said, that was for the interim IBF super middleweight title. Because remember, after the Bottle Jack and James DeGale draw, James DeGale was on an injured relief, and so basically the title was in a glass vault. So Andre Durrell and his Jose, they were like, hey, we'll fight for a champion temporarily, and then when James gets back, we'll see if we're worthy of staying the regular champion. Okay, sure, why not? That's the way the interim deal works. That fight ended in a questionable rhythm punch. It happened after the bell. Jose landed a three-piece, ended on Jarrell's face. Got him woozy, he couldn't continue. But the thing is, so like I said, Jarrell was awarded the belt because it happened after the 4th round. Or was it after the 4th round? I forgot what round it happened, but he was awarded the belt. But the thing is, the IBF investigated the outcome and demanded an immediate rematch. Something about it was, yes, the punch landed after the bell, but it was, he got disqualified. But the ref never discovered, was it a punch intentional? Was it accidental? Yes, it's clear the punch landed after the bell, but if you're throwing a three-piece before the bell and the third one hits after, that's an accident. It shouldn't have been a disqualification. It should have been a no contest. So that might make me think it happened in less than 4 rounds because all this stuff about the fight. So the fact that it was ruled a disqualification on something that was an accidental, they didn't like that. And they didn't like the fact that the referee was telling Jarrell that, hey, if you can't continue, I'm going to disqualify him, making you the winner. They didn't like that aspect. So once the IBF saw the tapes and all this stuff, and they ordered a rematch. So therefore, in the IBF rankings, you got a new champion, Truex. The interim champion, Jarrell. Number 1 and 2 is empty in the rankings, and number 3 is Jose. So those 4 spots are, well, those 3 spots are gone, and so is the interim champion. So the champion is Truex, interim champion Jarrell. Number 1 and 2 is empty. Those 4 spots taken already. The actual number 3 spot is Jose, who has that mandatory rematch with Jarrell. So every fighter available so far after the champion is tied up in the IBF. And then you got number 4, Chris Eubanks Jr. He's tied up. And that leaves number 5, Vincent Vince. I'm probably butchering that name, but he has a fight lined up February 24th, and that's for Intercontinental IBS. So he's trying to get that spot without really, well, he's doing it the proper way. I don't know who he's quite fighting, but he's doing it the proper way. He's going, getting the trinkets. So like I don't have to take on a fight that might be a little dangerous for me. I'd rather take the proper way, because if the trinket leads the easier way and you get your title shot the same way, hey, your career, your family, you're doing it right. So that's where number 5 is going. Then you get number 6 and number 7. Number 6 is Rocky Fielding. Number 7 is Caleb Plant. So that's what I'm saying. That's where, so they have the quickest title route in the IBF, because they have, like that, the title, Andre Jarrell, the interim, versus Jose, that was scheduled for, but I haven't heard much news or talks about it. Last things I was reading on the boxing scene, that it was supposed to be this month, the 26th. So we'll see if it just gets a little more promotion as it gets closer. But that will be our first breakdown and prediction of this show, that interim rematch, right here on RRT Boxing, Ready Talk Boxing. Please subscribe if you have not already. Now, this was a pretty good match for why it lasted. Jarrell, to me, the Jarrell brothers' skills aren't fight takeover. They take over on the microphone. They give a presence. But if you can survive their bullyism, it's hard for them to get you again. You know, I think they're decent boxers, but I think a lot of it comes from trying to mentally tough you in the ring. And Jose didn't. I don't know if it was for the fact that, you know, there was no English connection between Darrell and the referee, so he was just in there fighting. Or two, he just didn't care. Like, hey, I'm boxing, bro. You ain't gonna punk me. Who knows which one it was? But the first fight was really good. Now these guys are gonna have a rematch, and once again, it's for the interim IBF super middleweight champion. They're both coming in at 26-2, 16 KOs to 22 KOs, 22 for Jose. They're 6'1" against a 6'2", Jose being a taller man, and getting a reach of a inch and a half with 76 to 75. A southpaw and Darrell, but he could slight switcher, so I don't know if he's a technical southpaw, but maybe that's what he does most. Now in that first fight, you saw that the quicker legs to me were with Jose. He was able to get around the ring faster. While Darrell was more of a kind of a methodical type mover. I thought Jose used the ring better than Darrell. I thought he was taking over the fight when the incident happened. But I do, because in the speed and like the offensively, who I think is more sounded. Because footwork, Darrell's to me is just a station, not a stationary, but a slight in front of you, and a slight walkabout fighter. He don't have the leg strength to constantly move around the ring and throw punches. So, and I think Jose can move around the ring offensively and defensively and fight a little more efficiently and effectively, going from round 1 to 9, you know, in a fight mode. I think Darrell's legs go before Jose's. Defensively, I thought the tide was gone with Jose, and offensively, I thought he was starting to put his forth its pressure, and I think him kind of realizing all that. Like I said, because before the 3-piece landed, that illegal blow, a couple seconds before that, and that first punch of that 3-piece landed pretty clean. Like I said, it was a good shot. Just that third one was after the bell, so he rode with it. So I do believe I'm gonna go with that. Jose will get a decision and beat Darrell for that interim shot on if it still takes place at the 26. I'm going with his name is Yetsin Uskatsky, Jose Uskatsky. I'm gonna go with him on a like a split decision, or let's say he's gonna get a decision over Andre Darrell for the interim IBF Super Middleweight Championship. Now moving on to the WBA rankings, you have, or we could just, we go WBA. You got George Groves, the super champion. And then you have Tyrone Ziog. Now he's the regular champion. Now, he had a fight with Isaac Ekpo, I think it's Ekpo. Isaac Ekpo, and that ended with some gashes, headbutt gashes. So it was nasty. So that got ordered into a rematch, but Tyrone was hurt, so now he's coming back, and now that rematch has to take place. So that's and then you got that George Groves is in the super middleweight. Tyrone coming back into his mandatory. Number 2, you got Chris Jr. Number 4, John Ryder, but he just lost to Fielding and I can't think of his other name, Patrick Nelson. He beat, but he lost to Fielding. You know. Then you got number 4. You got Vincent, who's fighting on the 24th of February. Number 5 is Federer, is the former super champion that George Groves defeated to become champion. So he's number 5 now. But like I said, behind him is 6 and 7, Rocky Fielding and Caleb Plant. Like I said, everyone in the top 4 in every division so far is kind of tied up. Like I said, except for John Ryder, but he's, like I said, he beat Patrick Nelson, who's okay, decent. He's number 3 in the he's number 2 actually in the WBO, so that might mean something. But he also got knocked out by Rocky Fielding, who's number 6, which is crazy. And I said they're so far that's 2 divisions where they could quickly get into like a 3 spot at least, quick. Like I said, and then you jump into the WBC, and this is where we would do our second breakdown and prediction right here in the WBC. Because straight out the gate, you have the champion David Benavidez. And then you have the number 1, which is Callum Smith, who is in the tournament. He went in as the number 2 seed, surprisingly. Maybe not surprisingly. George Groves has a more of a career, more of a chance to get even though his biggest fights he lost with Crotch, but he did get that to Gale, so he went in as number 1, and he is taking on, Callum Smith, that is taking on Jürgen Breimer, who defeated Robert Brandt, the middleweight who went up to super middleweight, and it showed in that fight. Not to saying that he couldn't have performed, but it showed. And that will be the second breakdown. Callum Smith taking on Jürgen Breimer, the light heavyweight who dropped down. And so far he's doing pretty decent. He defeated who did Jürgen Breimer defeat? Robert Brandt. And Callum Smith just defeated Eric Schugel. And the inside or the backstory or the side story, the story you're going to hear right here on Double RT Boxing, told by your host, Mr.A. Thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up. Please thumb up the video. Support the show. The backstory is that Jürgen Breimer was the sparring partner for Eric for the Smith fight. Now, if you saw that fight, that was a good fight. I myself had Eric ahead. At one point, that movement and that jab was good. It was giving Smith fits. It was having him lose rounds to points. Now, in the later rounds, Smith's power proven to be enough as Eric tired out. Now with Jürgen showing his little decent, it was surprising movement against Robert Brandt. Beautiful inside countering. So will he, everyone thinks he's older. He's 39 years old. Will he have another round of success? Or was that just, hey, I want to come back and end my career on a high note? Or is he in this to win this? Like I said, the breakdown is Callum Smith is 23-0, Jürgen's 49-3. So obviously the experience is with Jürgen. His career is 303 rounds to 100 rounds for Smith. 27 years of age versus 39. 6'3" in height for Smith against a 5'11.5" for Jürgen Berman. But he's coming in. I don't know exactly what Smith reaches, but Jurgens is 71.5. So I would be willing to say that Smith is longer than 71's cause. From what I could visually slightly remember, I know he's linkier and taller, so I'm thinking he's gonna have something longer than Jurgens. So Smith, as in his feet and legs, like I said, even though the fight was tough with Eric, you could tell he wasn't quite as risky the first half of the fight. He was choosing to be on the back foot a lot. Then he shows he can't go forward, so he could fight both ways, back foot, front foot. He's good at turning. He's not really in a straight line attacker. His legs will get him in and out of trouble. His feet will get him in the right position for punches. So he's pretty solid for what he does, waist and below. While Jurgen, like I said, he shows surprising movement. But will he have enough movement down below for the length and the power of Smith? It's going to be a larger gap to judge, and because he was able to slip inside of Brandt and jab inside of it, but he was. You can see he was the bigger man against Brandt. Remember, he moved down from 175, and Brandt moved up from 154, so he was a bigger man. Will he be that same bigger man against Smith? In height, no. Now, in like the girth and the width and the thickness of the body, I'm not quite sure. But I think Smith's frame will allow him to take what advantages of Raymond's jabs that was troubling Brandt. I think Smith shall take that better. So that shockingly surprising dominant advantage, I don't think will be as strong. I could be wrong. Who knows? But what we do know is this is the RRT Boxing Show. Please subscribe, and I hope you are enjoying the show. I am your host, Mr.A. Thumbs it up if you have not. Now, like I said, will that power still be there? Will he be able to hit him as easily? Will he be able to move? Like I said, that's going to be more movement he's going to need, even just to move and slip the longer reach. That's more movement that you don't account for. That's energy being burned. Will Jurgen have that type of conditioning? Who has the better feet and legs and the movement? They're both good, but I'm going to lean with Smith, because I think he could do a mixture of back foot and front foot fighting and movement, while Bramer does it good, and he showed he could do it against Brandt. I just don't know if he's going to have the better legs for 12 rounds than Smith. As for defensively, Smith is very hittable with a jab, and that's why I wasn't the best in 2017. I got a good amount of L's in my loser column, and Eric Schogel versus Cullum Smith was one of them. I picked him to upset Smith because I thought a mover and a jabber could beat Smith. Because I believe even though Smith can move back and forth and fight, you can move and keep him stationary enough and offensively counter him. And like I said, being first, you can score lots of jabs on Smith. Now, Shogun was able to do that, and you can, like I said, if you could jab yourself in on Smith, you're able to follow up something. So that defensively, he lacks to me in a reflex of a head move. Like he's hittable, unless he's 100% on defense. He doesn't go offensively to defensively and slip punches well. Like I said, he's pretty good at going to back foot and evading trouble, but just in front of you, he's to me he doesn't transition well from offense to slipping. He could be offensively timed first, and like I said, I do believe he has an opening because the fact that once you could jab him in, you could hit him with like hooks to the body, and then you could like turn him. So that's where I think he lacks on defense, I thought Eric could do that. And if Jurgen is the sparring partner, he will have to know about that game plan that Eric was doing successfully. But does he have the legs and the stamina? Because I do believe he has more strength, and with more strength, I think he could deliver a more shot with power that might stun Smith, because Eric was able to land some good shots that Smith felt in the fight. And I do believe Jurgen has that power to hurt him. But as for defensively for Jurgen, he don't have the legs that Eric was able to move with. So it was a good fight, and Eric was winning that fight because he had the legs to make Smith overreach and then get countered. While I do believe Jurgen will be able to offensively counter Smith, I don't believe he has the defense to make the gap a little larger than what Smith think it is, make him reach and encounter him. I don't think he has that reflexes, that quickness to move lateral. I don't think he has it enough. I think he don't have the stamina. But like I said, he showed in Rob Brandt match he can do that. I'm saying he don't have it, but he showed he can do it. It's crazy. But I just don't think he'd be able to do it against a bigger 168er. A guy who's probably not supposed to be a 168er. A 168er. But so defensively, but I think in the inside game, doing all that slipping punches, I do believe Jurgen could slip and fight better. Well, maybe not fight, but take less clean shots in close quarters than Smith. So maybe like I don't know. I think I will lean on defensively. I might lean towards Jurgen Berman actually, because yes, Kellum can use lateral movement in the ring, but he's quite hittable. So I'm going with Jurgen Berman for that defense. And then we come to what really matters most is that offensive. And this is does Jurgen Berman still pack that 175 power? I think he does. Because I think he's an older fighter, so he just has that like the old horsepower, and I believe he's German too. Those Germans pack that strong power, man. There's just that Eastern Europe, man. They pack that power. So at his good old veteran age of 39, I think he has that muscle memory power that if he could land a shot on Smith, don't be surprised if Smith, even if it's a flash knockdown, goes to the canvas. So the power I'm going to give with Jürgen Bremer. Like I said, Smith, with his 17 KOs out of 23 fights, I believe he has nice pop. But his is definitely a technique deliverance with his legs, his hips, his length behind his leverage behind with his length. All that is generated into his power. Well, I believe like Jürgen just has that veteran age 39 hit you like that Rocky, the last Rocky movie where he just kept it simple, lifting chains and very simple. And jab for jab, Jürgen has a good jab, but I'm gonna go with Cullum on this one. To me, I like how it gets a full length on his jab. He really controls length, and he has pop you in the face with it, or I just tag you for points and just get my breath, keep you at bay versions. I like how he mixes it up, jab. And then where it comes to just combination variations and speed, I believe Smith mixes up speed variations better than Jürgen. I think Jürgen's kind of just the force is there. I don't think he's gonna throw you any softball setup punches. He's just gonna punch to be aimed to hurt you. Aimed to be with intentions. The punches that are thrown are the real punches. Where I think Cullum Smith, he does throw combinations that have different speed variations with setup punches. Not that he always does them, but I think he has a more variation than Jürgen at that style. So with combination of speed variations, I'm going to lean with Smith, but mainly Smith is going to be a 1-2. But he does inside hooks and uppercuts, and he does a body stab jab. So while Jürgen 1-2, he does a little inside uppercut. But I just don't think he could dig the inside game that he wants to with Smith right there. I think Smith could get him on the inside with uppercuts. I'm going to lean with, that being the breakdown for the WBSS, the World Boxing Super Series, Super Middleweight semifinal. Cullum Smith taking on Jürgen Berman on... actually, the date's not announced for that fight yet. But that is the breakdown for that fight. The prediction right here on the RRT Boxing Show. Ooh, this is the first one I made on the show of 2018, but this is not the first prediction I made for a 2018 fight. Check out the Christmas special show. There's a few. If you have not watched the Christmas edition show, I talk about some 2018 fights in that video. So I talk about the first coming month of January. The big fights in January. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, I make two prediction fights. I talk about Matisse and Tiwa Karayam. I talk about a prediction in that fight, and then I talk about Isaac Dogbo and Cesar Juarez. I make a prediction in that fight. And then I just talk about some other middleweights in there. So if you have not seen it, there's a few 2018 in there. Now back to this one. That was this World Boxing Super Series breakdown. Like I said, that was the WBC Super Middleweights. Now that being that's number 1 in the WBC, we go to number 2, Chris Eubanks Jr. Number 3, Anthony Durrell. Number 4, Jesse Hart. Now Jesse Hart. Let's go on to number 5. Number 4, Anthony Durrell. Number 3, Anthony Durrell. Number 4, Jesse Hart. Number 5, Ronald Gravel. And he's getting his rematch against the champion, David Benavidez. And number 6 is Rocky Fielding. Caleb Plant is not really in the WC lineup. But, like I said, this is Rocky Fielding as well. So, what Rocky Fielding has, you figure number 4 and number 3 in the WBC, they might fight for a swap, or Rocky Fielding could just maybe challenge one of those two guys. Considering number 2 is tied up. But Jesse Hart, who's number 4 in the WBC, is also number 4 in the WBO. And he just lost to the champion, Roberto Ramirez. And number 1 in the WBO, Callum Smith. Number 2, Patrick Nelson. He's, like I said, but he won his last fight on October 14th. But before that, he got KO'd against Rocky Fielding. So he's 1-1, but he's number 2. Number 3 in the WBO, Rocky Fielding. So you got Rocky Fielding, number 6 in the WBC, number 6 in the WBA, number 6 in the IBF, and number 3 in the WBO. And like I said, in IBF, he's number 6, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are tied up. He could jump up, and like I said, number 1 and 2 are empty. There's no fighter there. So with the right fight, Rocky Fielding can get high in the ranks. He might even be able to get. He might even be Caleb Truax mandatory, because if the IBF, they go down to who's next. Don't be surprised if you see Rocky Fielding get a title shot against Caleb Truax, because everyone else is tied up. They can't be available. Rocky Fielding could be available for Caleb Truax's first title defense. Now, like I said, back to the WBO, Roberto Ramirez, he's fighting number 6 coming up. I forgot when something, I think it's February or something. His fight's coming up. So you got number 1, Callum Smith. Number 2, Patrick Nelson. Number 3, Rocky Fielding. Number 4, Jesse Hart. He just lost in bad. Well, he got knocked down pretty bad. He made a second half showcasing of himself against the champ. And you got number 5, Angulo. Not Angulo. Angio something. It's like a Rawer Alexis. What was that? Crazy. These guys never know out here sometimes. But yeah, number 5, he's the WBO champion, Latino champion. He's the WBO Latino champion. So, like I said, his name is Rawer Alexis Angio. A name none of us know, but don't be surprised if he somehow gets a shot with a Rocky Fielding or Roberto Ramirez. Be honest, the Mexican background, they might try and sell that somewhere. This guy's a Latino champion. They might work it. If you have those trinkets, you can move up. I said, so who out of Caleb Plant and Rocky Fielding is going to take advantage of the rankings above them being tied up, while there's action to be needed in that division to move up? Like I said, the champions are tied up, and they're fighting each other. So there's no one to move. I said Caleb Smith, Chris Eubanks Jr., they're in that tournament. So basically their spot is kind of vacated. And then you got because David Benavidez, his mandatory, even though he has that rematch with Ronald Gravel, whoever wins that, their next fight is against the winner of the the WBSS super middleweight tournament. the fact that the WBC is sponsoring it with the Ali belt, they're behind it. Connection. They are gonna make their champion fight the winner of that, and that's gonna be a bad fight. That's gonna be a good fight. Like I said, can you imagine David Benavidez? You figure you got Chris Eubanks, Groves, Smith, or Berman. Can you imagine David Benavidez beating those 4 guys? Can you imagine Ronald Gravel beating those 4 guys? Let's see, Groves and Benavidez. That's a hell of a fight. Benavidez and Banks. Talk about some hammers, right? Then you got Benavidez and Smith. That's interesting. That's very interesting right there. Gravel and Smith. You might favor Smith on that one with the reach. I don't know if Gravel got that grit to get inside that and beat him down. Then you got Groves and Banks, Smith and Berman. I don't know if can Berman beat those 2 guys? Maybe, I think so. But I don't know if Benavidez might beat down Jurgen Berman. I don't know. But the veteran might school him at the 40 or something, who knows? So that's where the WBC future lies. And like I said, Rocky Fielding is number 6 in there, number 6 with WBA, number 6 in the IBF. And Caleb Plant is 7-7. And he's only, like I said, he's only in the IBF and the WBA 7-7. But like I said, the spots above both those 2 fighters, they're tied up, and they can't move. So I was wondering, that got my attention. Like, this 2018 should be a good year for Rocky Fielding or Caleb Plant, or maybe it's only enough room for one of them to move up. Who's gonna take this moment? This is the moment. Like I said, either both those guys got to come out having big fights, good performances, dominating. Like I said, they don't have to be knockouts, just very good showcasings, and they have to be against names, entertaining fights. Because I think right now, this is the time for one of those 2 guys to become a name, because in the boxing circle, they are contenders. But then there's contenders that are talked about. This, I think, could get them as being contenders that are talked about. Contenders who have chances, not just, I guess they did enough work to earn their way. These are contenders that, people believe in. So will both of them make it? Or will one of them have to outdo the other? That we don't know. But that was my little, talk of the super middleweights. Hope that was entertaining. If you like that, please thumb up the video. And what is funny, some little side notes before the show is over. We have to give a special thanks to a fighter on the 17th, Ronald Quinlan. He's taking on King Davidson. Now, if it wasn't for Quinlan's IBO belt, Chris Eubanks Jr. wouldn't really have a backing. He would have to just fight. But the fact that he was able to get that IBO title, or get that fight, I should say, it gave him that was it IFL TV or something, the ITV. They gave him that little pay-per-view deal over in the UK. So they gave him that deal. He got a title, and it's the IBO title, but it is a title. My boy Erislandy Lara, he's an IBO champion, so I respect it. You know, I'm glad he has that belt. I'm glad Eubanks Jr. has his IBO belt. I'm pretty sure I want Golovkin better like his IBO belt. Man, he was rocking it for a long time. Klitschko had his IBO belt. Everyone has the IBO belt. You know, it's just we as fans we rock it. We don't like it, but Cyclone Promotions, they get all their fighters the IBO belt. You want to get started with a belt? Go sign up to Cyclone Promotions. They get you a title shot in the IBO circuit real fast. So it's a good way to raise your little purse money, raise your resume or the credentials. You know, like, hey, I defended a belt. Like, I made 5 title defenses. What belt you? Hey, I defended a belt. You know, everyone fights a little tougher to get something. Like I said, it may not be nothing, but the IBO title, you get a little money difference. You get a little credibility. Like, hey, I'm defending champ. So the IBO champion Ronald Quinlan fights the 17th. I thought that's just the former Ronald Quinlan trying to get his name back. Because imagine if he would have did the upset, you know, where he would have been right now. Maybe he would have been upset in the first round against the Anvil, but Yardyman. But who knows? Like I said, that's January 17th. That's just, super middleweight news, since we are talking super middleweights here. And this I found interesting. I found this very interesting here. Saturday, January 20th. I forgot the country, but I think it's China by the look of the name. Ji Zhao, 1-0. Taking on, now I cannot pronounce this name, Sherry Young Kong, Limon Kwan, Sharia Hong Kong. So Sherry Hong Kong, something like that. I apologize. 92 and 4 losses. Jizo 1-0, taking on Sherry Hong Kong 92 and 4. What? 1-0 taking on 92 and 4. Fast track. I hope I can somehow find that fight. I couldn't find no footage of these guys, but I want to see this fight somehow. So that's January 20th. 1-0 taking on 92 and 4. Oh man, that's wow. I am Mr.A. This is the Double RT Boxing Show. Before we end this show, we are going to end it with one more breakdown and prediction in the super middleweight, of course, since that is the main portion of this theme. So we went over the very last title shots of 2017, the great fights in Japan between Tacguchi defeating Milondo for the unification. Then we also discussed Sho Kimura defeating Toshiyuki, his #1 mandatory. The devastating don't give up game plan, wear your opponent down. We discussed the opportunity in the super middleweight division for Rocky Fielding and Caleb Plant. And now we also did 2 breakdown and predictions. A breakdown before the interim IBF super middleweight title between Andre Durrell and Jose Yukaki. That was mandated by the IBF for January 26th. Is it going through all the way? I haven't heard much about it recently, but it was mandated. We also talked about the February 17th matchup coming up between the 2 super middleweights in this WBSS tournament on the between Chris Eubanks Jr. and George Groves. And now, that's what we're going to end on. I'm sorry. I'm live. Well, not live, but that's what we're going to end on. We talked about Caleb Smith and Jurgen Berman. What's in this cup? Really, just water. Just water. We talked about Caleb Smith and Jurgen Berman in the WBSS tournament. And what we're going to finish on is the other semi match in the World Boxing Super Series, the super middleweight tournament. Chris Eubanks Jr. and George Groves, who are all up and down those rankings, just tied up, giving opportunity for Caleb Plant and Rocky Feldon. Like I said, that fight goes down February 17th. Highly anticipated fight. I definitely want to see this fight. I'm not expecting it to hear the final bell. And if it does hear the final bell, I think it's going to be an entertaining 12 rounds. It's going to be a semi-strategy, strategistic bout for a while until someone is going to get slept. Because I do believe both these opponents have the style and fighting style to deliver a knockout over accumulation of punches. And I do believe both fighters give opportunity for the other fighter to land those shots to occur. Now, Chris Eubanks Jr., who seems to turn, because everyone always goes back to his one loss in his 27 fights. He's 26-1, 20 KOs, fights with a 74% fight knockout percentage. With that 26-1, his experience is 157 rounds against George Groves, 186 rounds and a 27-3 record. 2 KOs though. He's been knocked out twice by a Carl Froch. But 3 losses, 2 KOs. That's always in a boxer's mind, and that's always in the boxer's opponent. Like, I can do that too. And you know, Chris Eubanks is thinking he can do that too. So, like I said, 157 rounds, 108 for Groves, 186 for Groves, 29-28. Banks being the younger man, but they're both 5'11". Well, half a taller for Groves. 72.5 inch, 72. So you got half an inch in reach for Banks, half an inch in height for Groves. So basically, if you really got to punch up, that inch don't mean crap, right? So I guess somehow sports science negates that. So how does the fight where I do not foresee a 12th round bell goes? We will say who is going to survive, because these guys don't have a one-punch knockout. Even though Junior did make a Yardman fall pretty good, but he was hitting him quite often in the earlier rounds too. It wasn't just a one-hit stunner. So with the power, jab for jab, I'm going with Groves. I think Groves has a better 1-2 setup than Banks. Now, I believe the faster fighter, and just, I think, everything, legs, feet, twitch muscles is Banks Jr. So the faster hands are Banks Jr. The combinations is Banks Jr. You know, you don't know if you're going to get uppercuts, hooks. You don't know if you're going to get a 3 combination or an 8-piece combination. But I do believe George has a better changeup in his speed variations. He throws setup punches. It seems like sometimes Banks throws his combinations and just, I'm going to barrage you with punches and something's going to land. While Groves throws his punches and expects like all 3 good punches to all 4 punches to land. If that makes sense. It seems like Banks is just barraging you. Like eventually I'm going to beat you down and you're going to hurt. While Groves thinks every punch is going to do it. That's what it looks like. So I'm going with power. The jab, Groves. The power, I'm going to go with Eubanks. I think his punches, punch for punch. I think Groves might have a power. I just think Banks does a lot of damage to a lot of accumulation of punches, but I don't think he has, like I said, he is the one coming up. I think he can hit hard. I just don't know if he's a harder hitter than Groves. But the fact that he throws faster and more punches, he's very and easily more capable of delivering more damage than Groves. But I just think in one punch, I think Groves has more power. Combination, easily Banks. Now, defensively, I don't know where I'm going to go on this one. Banks, to me, his defense is highly dependent on his offensive onslaught. Him dictating the pace with his offense controls his defense. I think he gets hit. I don't think his inside defense is as slippery as he would like it to be. He ducks down with his shoulder into you a lot, kind of like shins himself. Or he'll duck down low, like below your waist level. Kind of like a Rigo did Loma, but as you see, if you have the feet work and the discipline, you can jump and counter yourself into a ducker like that. So his defense is against Groves. Groves, you saw in Jack, you saw in Crotch. He's open to a right. You could tag Groves to the body because his fighting stance is kind of a wide, high fist one. He's good on the back foot. He can move. He's good at using the ring. He's good at keeping the right distance for you to miss and him to counter. Defensively, I'm going to go with, I think Groves is the better defensive fighter. Just better defensively all overall, I think Groves is. But if you want to tie in stamina-wise, that slows Groves down. And then Eubanks can have an advantage with stamina. Now, if you want to tie that into someone's defense, I got to flip it and go to Banks has the better defense because I think his defense stays, even though you can find little cracks in it, it stays pretty much. You don't see him slow down. You don't see him get hit with more shots as you see Groves get hit more often as the fight goes on. His defense kind of seems to slip like in the second half of the fight. So if you want to tie the stamina to the defense, I go with Banks Jr. has better defense. Better legs. Groves, he could fight back foot, front foot. He could fight on the move. Where Eubanks uses his legs a lot for power and leverage. For all the combinations he's throwing, for all the deadly shots. That's what his legs really come in for. He can use a little boxing skills around the ring, but boxing legs, to me, I'm going to go with Groves. I think he used more boxing things besides, like I said, Banks puts himself in position with his feet pretty well. He's pretty set up decently for the next punch. But like I said, his feet are heavenly planted for the devastating combinations he unleashed. But in order for him to do that, his feet have to be heavenly planted into the mat. And he does take wise steps here and there to turn himself sometimes. He does a little his defense. slips and rolls him. And so it's going to be pretty good. But he's a slipperier guy in the waist. Yeah, he's better. Actually, I gave the defense to Banks. Now, my prediction in this fight. Right here on RRT Boxing. This is the Ready Talk Boxing Show with Mr. A, and we are doing our final breakdown and prediction of the show. February 17th, the World Boxing Super Series, Chris Eubanks Jr., George Groves, the WBA Super Champ versus the IBO Champ. Who do we got? Well, we know Groves, unless he surprises us all, is not going to stand there and box. Well, he's going to box Eubanks Jr., but I don't think he's going to be consistently side-to-side, arm length in front of Eubanks Jr. Now, he ain't going to use the movement Billy Joe had, but I think he'll use, I think he'll try and just constantly turn Eubanks Jr., keep those feet moving, being on the outside, going 1-2s, occasionally counter check left hooks, keeping Eubanks on the outside, avoiding Eubanks from being an inside, delivering all those combinations, make Eubanks overreach himself to get in, because I do not believe Eubanks has the proper foot speed and footwork to cover ground fast, but he could get in there. Now he's going to have to get in there with a jab. If he just looks to really inflict pain on George Groves and thinks he could just walk George Groves down with some power shots, he's going to lose this fight by some points. He cannot just walk George Groves and thinks he's just going to knock him out. He's going to have to jab himself in and really change the angles, because George Groves is going to box from the from the outside, and when things get close, he's going to grab him, work the body, grab him, and he's just going to spin him and start it all over again. Now it's going to be up to Eubanks to jab himself in and then work the body and do his uppercuts and all that. Can he jab Groves to the ropes? Because like I said, I do believe Groves has a better back foot game, and he's gonna need a heavy dose of back foot boxing to me outlast. Considering it shows slight improvements, but it's still there. The stamina, it's not quite trusty yet. Even though McGuigan got him looking good, I like the team. I like the matchup. He's gonna have to do a lot of back foot boxing. I think he has a strong forward 1-2 body hook, and Eubanks does get hit sometimes a little too often. Will you? This fight all matters on Eubanks. Does he use his jab to get in? If he just tries to, because I don't think he's gonna be able to cut the ring off. I don't think he's gonna be able to cut the ring off on Groves. So he can't walk around the ring and follow Groves without a jab. If he's just walking around trying to swing muscle shots, he's gonna lose. And I think they know how much pressure is on. I think he's gonna eventually jab himself around the ring, finding Groves, work somebody, and I think the pressure, the combinations and the pressure, like I said, if he jabs himself in and just starts throwing everything like he normally does, maybe change the speed variations a little bit, not just throw them, hit the body, hit the shoulder, hit the head. I don't think Groves, like I said, Eubanks could be countered really bad on his uppercuts because he throws them just like with the moon that he leaves himself open for overhand right. But you gotta throw with it, throw with the miss because it's instead of just completely blocking it, you gotta throw. It's a gutsy thing, but he leaves himself wide open. Easier said than done, but it's there. Because WRT Boxing sees it. That's what we do. We talk from out here. We're not in there. That's our job. Let us be professionals at our job, even though we're not professionals. But you get the gist. So my prediction is I do believe Groves will be very successful in outboxing Eubanks Jr. on the back foot, but eventually will run out of real estate, run out of space, and run out of opportunities because I think Eubanks will track him down quite enough times with the jab and do some damage that eventually he will stop George Groves like in the 10th round and become the WBA champion, the IBO champion, and taking on Caleb Smith, who will, I don't know if I made that prediction, but I predict outlast. No, I think Caleb Smith will stop Jurgen Berman. I think with the height, and I don't know, I want to say stop him, but I don't know if he's going to come out aggressive enough. No, I think he's going to play it safe. He's going to get a decision on Berman. So I got the WBC finals, Chris Eubanks Jr. stopping George Groves in the 10th round, TKO, to meet up with Caleb Smith, who will get a unanimous decision over Jurgen Berman. That is what I have the WBSS Super Middleweight Finals. Thank you for tuning in. This is the WRT Boxing Show. I woke up like this. I'm the host. You're the subscriber. Hopefully you're even the new subscriber. Thanks for supporting the show. I appreciate it, guys, ladies. Ready. Let's talk some boxing. Next show, we'll talk about the 130-pounders. Brachette. You got who else is up in there? You got Sergey. We're going to talk about some of those guys. Have a good one. Thank you for your support. Oh, still on. I think it's who is it? Who else is up? I can't think right now. You got Sergey. You got Brachette. Vasily. Who else are we going to talk about on the next show here? Yeah. Actually, no. Next show, we're going to talk about the lightweights. That's what I was talking about, actually, because I already started that one. I already started watching the fights for that one. We're starting the lightweights. Robert Easter Jr. taking on Javier Fortuna. We'll talk about that fight on the next show. We got the vacant WBO title shot. We got Mikey Garcia, Jorge Larnes shot coming up. So we're gonna do a lot of if you like the lightweight division, you like Robert Easter Jr., you like Mikey Garcia, you like Jorge Linares, and if you like Raymond Beltran, we will be talking about those champions. We will talk about the lightweight division on the next show, the Double RT Boxing Show. I'm your host, Mr. A, saying thank you for your support. And once again, I woke up like this. Thank you for your support.